Thanks again for joining us. We are the hosts of the podcast Black Mass Appeal, and our tagline is that we are a podcast that brings modern Satanism to the masses. We'll make the connection in just a second for you. But let's go over our hosts. First, we have Daniel.
Hey, my name is Daniel. I'm the co-host for Black Mass Appeal. I've been playing D&D for a plurality of my life now, going all the way back to a little second edition, a little bit.
And we've got Tabitha.
Hello, I'm Tabitha. I am the cute one on our podcast. And I'm a casual D&D player. I've played some Pathfinder and 5e and some other kind of various tabletop games.
And my name is Simone. I'm the casual one here. I have played D&D before. I also was obsessed with the Star Wars role-playing game, you know, the one that had the Millennium Falcon on the cover, but I didn't have friends to play it with. And I have played Call of Cthulhu before, but still, least experienced over here.
But you and Victoria are both free to join our Saturday game anytime.
Yeah.
Clear as We've been saving the seats for you. So, okay, we've got an hour in this room. We got a lot of space to clear. We're going to do three things for you. One, we're going to talk about the pulp demonological history of Dungeons and Dragons. Then, we're going to walk you through some of the highlights and lowlights of America's Satanic Panic. And then finally, in part 3, we're going to expose the secret satanic underbelly of old school D&D that snuck under the radar for all of these years. And it's both more and less graphic than it sounds. But first, a disclaimer.
Yeah, so the whole Satanist thing. Yes, we three are Satanists and we have a podcast about it, but we're not here to talk about Satanism specifically. We're obviously here to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, but just quickly to get it out of the way. No, we don't worship the devil. No, we don't sacrifice virgins. No, we don't eat babies. To very, very briefly sum it up, we use the literary character of Satan as a symbol for our belief set, which includes things like believing in science over faith, bodily autonomy, you know, LGBTQ rights, all that good stuff. So, we're gonna be cool, if y'all can be cool with the S word, because we're gonna say it a lot throughout this hour.
Yeah, religion is sensitive, so like, we're not here to preach, we're not here to proselytize, don't like to proselytizing Satanists, it's really weird. Also, everybody says they have a good recipe for a baby, but they're always lying. It's like tofu. It's very inconsistent.
Don't put this stuff in people's brains!
Well, let's change the subject really, really fast. Show of hands, who here has played Dungeons & Dragons at least one time in their life? Of course.
Yeah.
And,
oh, me too.
Yeah. And who has played D&D has ever at one point had their character bump into a demon or a devil or a similar feat? Yeah, it's pretty common, right? The words demon and devil appear 378 times in the 2014 3 core D&D rulebooks. Don't ask me how I know that. It's a normal thing. Also, you go to the D&D Beyond database, they've got 289 demons and devils, some of which have the names of, quote, real evil spirits like Moloch and Baphomet. And 40 years ago, just those two facts would have freaked America the fuck out. Pandemonium would have ensued if I told that to the average person.
Oh, I forgot. We very, very small content warning, because we're going to be talking about the Satanic Panic. There is, you know, references to suicide and
just the darker ramifications of what the Satanic Panic actually did to people in real life.
It's brief mentions, but steel yourself.
Thank you, Tab.
Yeah.
So, now that we've lured them in, Tabitha, you've got a pop quiz for everybody. One question, open book, go.
Yes, the question is, why is D&D full of devils and demons? Why can D&D players visit actual hell and fight monsters there, other than because it's really metal?
This is not a rhetorical question. We have an actual answer. We're going to give you a few minutes to think about it. These days, the answer would be like, there's so much TTRPG content out there. Every usable tranche of folklore and pop culture has been converted into game material, which is why you can kill a fucking chupacabra in Pathfinder. But demons were a really early D&D thing. Like, they'd only put out a couple of books before they went straight to the demons. It's actually kind of the third D in the game. So why? Why was that an early adoption? Anybody got a guess? Feel free to shout that.
If they're like straight evil, you don't have to feel bad about killing them.
That's a good point. Oh, yeah.
No,
That's a
It's
good
kind of
point.
like goblins.
Yeah, to get utility.
Squish.
So a really big thing in some of the early history of kind of what was expected to happen during games in D&D had to do with laws of, forces of law and chaos, right? Like even before we had today's alignment system, which kind of differentiates, okay, well maybe there's like a good evil axis and a law chaos axis. A lot of D&D keyed into tropes of 80s pulp fiction, wherein it was sort of generally understood that, the forces of law were the forces of goodness, and the forces of chaos were the evil bad guys, and so having devils and demons can play into some of those older pulp tropes.
Great answers.
Do you want to come sit over here?
Yeah, you've got an extra chair. Well, let's take a look at some of those older materials, actually. Tabitha, you want to give us our first dramatic recitation?
Yes, these are my favorite things to do. Not necessarily Eldritch Wizardry. All right, so this is from Eldritch Wizardry. I like that word, Eldritch. Eldritch, good word. Yeah. This is by Gary Gygax.
Well, I've heard of it.
1976. Demons are chaotic and evil. Demons never willingly serve anyone.
Same.
If forced to serve through magic or threat, they will continually seek a way to slay their master. If the name of a powerful demon is spoken, the demon might then immediately kill the one pronouncing it. Same. Demon princes maintain their souls in small containers. If some enterprising character should gain this amulet, possession gives power over the demon for 24 hours, like that show with Kiefer Sutherland. The amulet must then be returned to the demon or destroyed. Possession of an amulet will double chances of calling another demon, and any demon not controlled will immediately attack.
This is one of my favorite examples of like very old school 70s Gygax fuck you style D&D. Good news, you found Orcus' amulet, now you can boss him around for a day. Bad news, when 24 hours are up, he's going to smash into fajitas. Also, during that entire time, you're swiping left on every demon in the metropolitan area, whether you like it or not. Why? Because fuck you, that's why Gary's in charge and he wants you to know it. Now, Eldritch Wizardry was the earliest D&D supplement to feature demons in like a usable, rules-based way. They might have mentioned some demons in the earlier books. I didn't read every single publication to prep for this, but this was the first time that you could incorporate them into the game in a practical way. Devils are referenced in Eldritch Wizardry, but they don't come up until about a year later. They're not, that devil-demon distinction is still being hammered out.
Can I stop you?
Yes.
What's going on with the cover?
What is going on with this cover?
That is a very nude woman.
That is salacious.
Also, their altar does not have good neck support. That's very inconsiderate.
It looks like a tree trunk.
Yes. Yeah. Weird perspective.
Yeah, at least she's warm.
Yeah, but speaking of the fire marshal, he's not going to like what's going on with this pagan bonfire over here. So, can you imagine if this was the cover art of a D&D book today? Like you walked into Barnes & Noble and just saw this chilling right there? Insanity.
Yeah,
Insanity.
People would not be happy about that at all.
So yeah, just the point is, it was a very different environment marketing games and TSR for those first couple of years. You could get away with a few things. Now, the answer to our pop quiz. Tabitha, why are there demons in D&D?
The very early D&D stole pulp stories from Conan and Elric and something called Raid Mauser, which
Google it.
I think it's a
That's
cat.
cute.
It's a cat. It's definitely a cat. So because they had a lot of black magic and demons and all sorts of other sundries, that's how it ended up in the game. And of course they stole a lot of Tolkien stuff and then got sued for it. And that's, there's plenty of demons in Tolkien's work.
Don't at me over the Balrog's wings. This is not my illustration. Meet me in the bar later and we can argue about it. So yeah, probably the demons were not it wasn't a religious thing. It was just like those were the fantasy tropes. Probably they did not give it a second thought. Probably they should have, but we'll get to that. Also, speaking of tropes.
Oh yes, so going back to the books, the pulp stuff from the 30s that they were pulling from, anything to get people to pull books off the shelf and buy it. Naked people, Satan, more naked people.
I mean, if you've got an altar and somebody isn't draped nude over it, What are you doing with your life?
You're
Wasted
really
a perfectly good altar.
Yeah, you're really missing out.
And if you read these early D&D demonologies, sometimes the demons aren't really unholy or frightening. Sometimes they're just weird. Simone, you want to do this one?
Yeah, so this is from Gods, Demigods, and Heroes in 1976. The Pictish Bag of Demons. A magical device that summons 10 to 100 creatures from its interior. These demons are half man and half bird with 35 hit points. They are as strong as a fire giant, and they will not attack anything lying flat on the ground. So
Yeah, same.
just pretend like it's a bear.
Yeah.
Play dead.
I also can't attack anything that's all the way on the ground.
It's bad for your back.
Bending
I think.
over, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just kick it.
The thing, first of all, strong as which fire giant? Do you think it matters? They're not being very specific about
Strong
this.
as Richard the Fire Giant.
Also, I want to go back 10 to 100. 10 is already probably more than I want to deal with. Oh wait, we just lost the...
No, it's back.
Okay. 10 is already too many. And then like, I opened this bag, 45, 70, it's like a Meeseeks box. This is gonna get out of control immediately. I do not like the vibe here. Although, since they're as strong as a fire giant, maybe they can help us move.
Yeah.
So there is that. I like that part. Tabitha?
Oh yes, continuing from Gods, Demigods, and Heroes. This is the Demon Ward Pact, an agreement between all demons concerning different types of mayhem. Not the band.
Not the insurance mascot either.
Yes. For instance, a weapon of the sword type is used on a demon with a sword ward pact. A sufficient number of demons will come to kill the sworder. With the more powerful the sworder, the more demons coming. The demon with such a pact will inform the attacker in order to strike fear in his heart. The demon can be attacked by other means with no fear of coming demons.
I love that word sworder.
There's so many words.
It's like an SAT question. What is going on? Every time I read this paragraph, I feel like I know less than when I started. I also like sword though, so there is that.
Yeah, sword is great.
Got to integrate it into everyday language.
Also, I love that the Balor is telling you, strike me down not with your sword, lest you be destroyed by every demon in the vicinity. An axe is fine though. I just want you to know.
Right.
Literally anything else.
A stick.
Yeah. Drop a rock on me. Put a loaf of bread in the freezer until it's very hard. We could do this. We won't do this all day, although we could. But I do want to do one more. Who's next? Simone.
Okay, well,
Right, Lucas, I
Lucas,
think.
thank you. Okay, so these are creatures that are neither man, nor beast, nor demon, but a little of all three.
Why are they being so coy about it? What is it?
They're not telling us percentages either, but okay. So they have near human intelligence, bestial cravings for human blood, and supernatural powers of endurance. These creatures appear as gargoyles, but that's where the resemblance ends.
Resemblance to what?
Gargoyles!
Oh!
Where did the resemblance start?
Their appearance!
Okay, so they appear as neither man nor beast nor demon, but exactly like a gargoyle.
So inside, they're man and beast and demon.
Oh,
They just
okay.
look like, okay.
Inside of them are three wolves.
And they have the strength of a hill giant this time.
Richard the Hill Giant.
So the point is just like, in those days, they were throwing a lot of stuff against the wall. It was very experimental, it was very pell-mell. They probably were thinking very hard about this. Also, Tabitha made me single out this illustration of a very bored-looking beholder that we came across.
He's going through it.
I don't know that he's bored. I think that singular eye looks a little red tinged.
Oh.
It's like me after 10 milligrams.
It's
It
really,
kind of looks like Coolio.
it's sad watching somebody lose the passion for their work like this. Anyway, the thing we gotta know, in spite of like how weird some of the material is most of the dudes who were writing D&D materials in those days were very boring, normie, Midwestern guys. In fact, they were churchgoers. Here's Gary Gygax in his Jehovah's Witness phase. When fans would send him Christmas cards, he'd send this form letter telling them how the Bible says you actually shouldn't celebrate Christmas. Now, if you don't celebrate Christmas, that's your business. We're not judging that. I'm just saying this does not seem like a man who is about to be enthralled to the powers of Satan by any measure that I'm familiar with. In those days, even if you were kind of a conservative religious type, you probably did not think that that would come to conflict with fantasy gaming because America had not yet gone completely insane.
Whoa. About this.
Right.
Yeah, that one particular way.
Yeah.
Plenty of others.
Exactly. Similarly, here's an ad they ran in Dragon Magazine in 1980 looking for D&D playing pastors and ministers. I don't know how many takers they got, but the point is they obviously were fine with the association. They wanted you to be thinking about normal, middle-class, boring Americana when you thought about D&D. That was the vibe they were going for. Also, in terms of like occult materials, weirdly enough, the one that contributed the most was the Bible. There's a couple of spells straight out of those earliest spell lists that come from Exodus of all things. One of which you can see is still in 5e to this day. So you know.
I'm a big fan of sticks to snakes. I'm gonna name my next band that. Oh yes. So religious professor Joe Laycock, who is #1 a friend of the show, and also has written a number of really fascinating books that I highly suggest you check out. But he wrote this book, Dangerous Games, and it talks about how the cleric class really, instead of coming from fantasy, was coming from the like Ronin priests that would roam the countrysides, like doing miracles and apparently exploding wild boars with prayer.
Because like, you think about it, there's no cleric in the Lord of the Rings, right? The closest thing is Gandalf, but he's a wizard. That's his whole bit. Conan never pals around with the cleric. It wasn't really a thing. But there are, the lives of saints, the hagiographies, where they would go around like healing the sick and like rescuing villages, and they would fight monsters, including this boar that St. Columba fucked with.
On one occasion, when the holy man was staying some days on the island of Skye, he separated from the brethren and went alone to pray. And having gone a little farther than usual, he entered a thicket where he met a huge wild boar that was pursued by hounds. And apparently, the boar did not get his prayers answered because he got exploded.
Yeah.
It's like a really weird prequel to Scanners.
We don't have time for the rest of the story, but it's actually not much longer than this, and the title does kind of give away the ending. That's also, for the record, Columba is also the saint who fought the Loch Ness monster, so there is that. Also,
We're really getting around.
Yeah, I'd like to observe, your cleric could do this in any D&D game today. I don't know if anybody ever has, but it's possible. It's within the rules. Not much has changed.
If you take anything away with you from this panel, it's that you can do that.
So yeah, okay. Early D&D was kind of weird. There was some racy stuff. They were playing pretty fast and loose, but mostly it was just kind of fun. It was goofy. It was pretty dorky because it's D&D. It doesn't seem like the makings of an evil Satanist conspiracy to subvert America's youth.
Right?
So,
yeah, so this brings us to the Satanic Panic, which, again, briefly, was a time, mostly American, but throughout, English-speaking countries, where people lost their fucking minds. And it was total pandemonium, but it had a great soundtrack. Really, they believed that there were these secret cabals of Satanists who were doing terrible crimes, most notably terrible crimes to children, and were accusing people left and right of it, even though they had no evidence. So, dealing with some deep-seated issues that kind of came to a head with some popular culture targets.
and if you're joining us here today, you probably already know there was an anti-D&D element to this moral panic. It's a pretty typical story, Simone.
Okay, so reading from this one, we've got the wolves, a family named wolves, not the dog creatures. The wolves say they feel Dungeons & Dragons will plant the seed of sorcery in youthful minds.
Now, Seed of Sorcery is a 7th level spell, so most kids won't actually get that far.
So I was going to say that's another good band name, but okay. Evil breeds evil, says Brian Wolf. Concerned parent Brian Wall, no relation, obviously. Kids playing the game are taught how to cast spells, and he wonders if the originator of the game is involved in witchcraft.
Not even involved in Christmas.
No, opposite.
Also, I do think Wolf Wall, I do think that was an AD&D module. Second up, Tabitha.
We now have 51 deaths that have been connected with Dungeons and Dragons, Radecki says.
Crack police work.
Yes, that doesn't mean that in all 51 that D&D was the only element, but we estimate that it was decisive. So it could have been anything. It could have been a gun. It could have been a car, a freak hailstorm.
Yeah, it's
But they had dice.
You're saying it's an element of the crime, but it's like, it's not exactly the murder weapon.
Right.
Well, those dice are choking hazards.
I mean, this little dice tower guy, like the dice come out with some force at the end. If your mouth is open at the wrong time,
Yeah.
you could just catch that and choke right on it.
Yeah.
But probably not 51 times.
I don't know.
A big driver of a lot of this negative publicity was a woman named Patricia Pulling, no longer with us. In 1982, she tried to sue the publishers of Dungeons & Dragons over the death of her son, who had played the game, among other things. That suit got thrown out on procedural reasons. They didn't end up hearing the argument on its merits. After that, she founded the group Bad, bothered about Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah, it's really too bad. I mean, Patricia was obviously going through stuff, you know, her son who needed some help, did not get the help that he needed, and, you know, I can't imagine trying to process that and, you know, just really kind of come to terms with it. I don't think this is probably the way she should have gone, but she did. Speaking of this book, I do have a copy. I have a whole section at home of D&D exploitation books. This one has an especially good cover. Afterwards, you should come up and take a look at it.
And,
So,
we do have a selection.
yes, we have a selection. Dungeons and Dragons has
Wait, you gotta give them the title.
Oh yes, so from The Devil's Web, Who is Stalking Your Children for Satan? By Pat Pulling in 1989. Dungeons and Dragons has become a gaming cult, as avid D&Ders ceaselessly spread the gospel, enrolling new players. Dungeons and Dragons is causing young men to kill. This game is one of non-stop combat and violence.
Point of order, you need to stop the combat for a long rest if you want your spell stats back.
Yeah, also you have to go hit on the tavern wench.
Yeah, come on.
Once hooked on the game, a player's mind may accept violent events without a second thought. When it begins to occur, negative behavior modification has taken place. Traditional values are pushed aside, and mind alteration has begun.
I tried like 4 different Manchurian candidate jokes for this part of the presentation. None of them landed. It's a classic. Look it up. Anyway, another big driver of publicity around this time was a kid named James Egbert. He was this kind of wonderkin, math genius, teenage college student, closeted also, which did end up playing a factor into the story. I don't bring that up gratuitously. And in 1979, he mysteriously disappeared from his dorm room. There was a lot of publicity, there was a manhunt, and his parents and a PI they hired to try to find him ended up speculating that maybe he wandered off in some kind of like D&D imposed delusional states. I've read the PI he wrote a book, The Dungeon Master, which I've read twice, which is twice more than anybody here should read this book, and I'm still not really sure what he thought D&D had to do with any of this, but it's also not even close to the weirdest thing in that book, so like, life goes on, we're just going to have to deal with it. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so a little excerpt here from The Dungeon Master. Bent over almost double, I caught a glimpse of what appeared to be writing. Closer examination revealed that someone had spray painted 13 names on the wall. Later I learned that 13 was the designated number for a coven, and that the MSU students who dabbled in witchcraft and black masses and such read books like the Satanic Bible, passed around helix-shaped Egyptian bracelets.
What?
I don't, like DNA, Egyptian...
Did nobody wear their helix-shaped Egyptian bracelet?
I forgot it!
and engaged in a variety of bizarre rites. I also found spray-painted messages. One of these read, "This way to Middle Earth."
Dun dun dun.
And then he got sued by the Tolkien estate.
Probably.
Dun dun dun.
By the way, you can tell this guy's really a lousy detective because he did not follow the directions to get to Middle Earth. How inquisitive could he possibly be?
Exactly.
That would presumably have led into a better book, or actually 4 better books and a similar book. Couple of years later, a writer named Rona Jaffe, she did a lot of books nobody's ever heard of. She also wrote for Cosmo for a long time, and she did a book called Mazes and Monsters, a fictional account of a legally distinct story of a college student who loses his mind after playing too much Dungeons and Dragons.
All right. You yourselves suggested Robbie might have been murdered. Suppose someone who was playing the game got carried away and killed him. Daniel tried to control the queasy feeling in his stomach. That's kind of far out, he said. Mazes and Monsters is a far out game, Martini said. Swords, poison, spells, battles, killing, maiming. A lot of violence, wouldn't you say? It's imaginary violence, Daniel said.
I do say that.
Yes, you do. We may be dealing with a sick mind.
My mind is feeling a little sick now.
Yeah, so this book was adapted into a wonderful television movie called Mazes and Monsters, starring a very, very young, my beloved Tom Hanks, local boy. So can I recommend you watch it? Maybe. Just be aware of the weird Two Towers ending, and I'm not talking about Tolkien here. People who have seen it will know what I'm talking about.
Now, we don't have time for the whole movie, of course, and Tom would probably prefer if we just pretend like this chapter of his life didn't happen. But you know what? He put a lot of hard work into this. It's only fair that we yeah.
Magic spells and charms, the greatest of which is the great eye of terror. A sword, which I only use should my magic fail.
Didn't catch a word of that.
There he goes.
I guess that's the mayor from Jaws.
That's kind of far out. Mazes and Monsters is a far out game.
You're reading it better.
Thank you.
Spells, battles, maiming, killing. It's all imagination. Is it?
Bring Columbo's good name into this.
Truly every frame of painting.
Yes.
So,
Oh,
now,
Can I ask, is Tom Hanks the dungeon master in this?
No.
Or is he's just a player?
Yeah.
yeah, he's, yeah.
The DM is a real character.
Yes, it really is a lot of a fun movie, but yeah, fun, I think is the only way to really say it.
Look up drinking games before you watch it.
Fair.
other than Mazes and Monsters, the most infamous piece of anti-D&D media for this period is late fundamentalist cartoonist Jack Chick's anti-D&D comic Dark Dungeons, which really kind of speaks for itself, but in this case Tabitha will be speaking for it.
Yes, before we get into it though, you might see before me, we have our Satanic Bay Area chick tracts. These are ones that I drew. Daniel wrote 2 of them, and they're a lot of fun. I have a lot of copies with me. If you want some, please take them with you. You can leave them in bathrooms like they do with regular chick tracts, or give them out as Halloween candy. Don't do that. Okay.
No, we didn't.
Slightly different perspective than the real chick tracks.
just,
you might
just
say.
a little.
We haven't done a D&D one, but we should.
That's true. All right, so the thief, Blackleaf, did not find the poison trap, and I declare her dead. No, not Blackleaf, no, I'm going to die. Don't make me quit the game, please don't. Somebody save me, you can't do this. Marcy, get out of here, you're dead. You don't exist anymore.
This is such an admirable way to kill a character. I think Marcy just didn't chip in for pizza and everybody's just like, shit.
Debbie, your cleric, has been raised to the 8th level. I think it's time for you to learn how to really cast spells. You mean you're going to teach me how to have the real power? Yes, you have the personality for it now.
In all my years DMing, nobody's ever asked me when they're going to learn the real power.
If they want you to come out back into an alley to teach you the real power, say no.
I'm pretty sure it's The Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News.
Well, you're not an 8th level cleric, so I can't reveal.
Oh, true. Yes, okay. The pentagram.
Real quick, having actually tried to do a pentagram on the floor, it is really difficult to get all those sides equal. So, I mean, one that big, you're gonna need an engineering degree.
No kidding.
You gotta commit to those angles.
Right, alright. The intense occult training through D&D prepared Debbie to accept the invitation to enter a witch's coven. We bought Elfstar to become a priestess and witch. Welcome, Elfstar. You're now a priestess of the craft and the Temple of Diana.
But you have to be called Elfstar, so
Right.
trade-offs.
That was easy, though. Just, well, you showed up to the pentagram, so I guess you could join us. Hi, Miss Anderson. Marcy wanted me to see her tonight. I'm glad you're here, Debbie. Marcy has shut herself in her room and won't come out. She hasn't been herself in weeks. I've been very worried. Ever since her character in that game got killed, it's as if a part of her died. Maybe you could talk some sense into her.
Classic Jack trick trope where we can emote, she's emoting how worried she is by the back of her head exclusively.
Right. It's my fault Blackleaf died. I can't face life alone. In Grandma's script font.
You can tell this was the 80s by the cursive suicide note. To anyone under 25, this would be totally illegible, and Marcy's death would be a mystery forever.
Oh yes, so, it would have happened sooner or later. Her character was too weak. But the law of our faith is that we can do anything we want as long as we had harmed no one. But now we have harmed Marcy. What have I gotten myself into? Don't be stupid, Debbie! I think you'd better let Elfstar take care of things. You're getting out of control. I don't want to be Elfstar anymore. I want to be Debbie!
Little Debbie.
Yeah, I want to
Little snack cakes.
I want to be Big Debbie.
You'll have to read the comic yourself to see how Debbie gets out of this, or maybe she doesn't. Wouldn't it be great if this was the ending, actually?
Yeah, this is the last panel.
Yeah. That's what you get. You buy a player's handbook. You're in it for life. Now,
Oh, goody.
yeah.
Yeah, so this is a nice little collection of other weird appearances of Dungeons and Dragons in the Satanic Panic context in popular media.
Well,
So no Stranger Things yet, but and no Geraldo in this one,
It's
unfortunately.
very unpopular media, actually.
I like that one.
Woo, insanity.
I guess they could just give you recipes for cannibalism.
Woo, demon summoning.
What is necromantic?
When a man and a corpse love each other very much.
What board is this?
I'm now Lord
Yeah, get out of here.
Bob Larson.
Not friend of the show.
Foe of the show.
Yes.
Dungeons and Dragons. In Dungeons and Dragons, what you do is to create a fantasized universe of the mind. Believe it or not, you can learn spells right out of
Look better on the side of my van.
Kids will learn the Ouija board. I've interviewed kids who have played the Ouija board, and the Ouija board literally told them how to draw a 5-pointed star and how to do a pretty Don't use that spell. One of the things it told us to do was to draw a pentagram. So we started getting into the incense books, potions, all kinds of stuff.
I guess it's just burn one page at a time.
Yeah.
That demon spirits are involved. I do not think that meat parents are really what's inside the game. In fact, in my presentation, I showed many pictures from the inside the book just to show the images of this game. I mean, the gruesomeness of this game, and the occult link to it. I did my message, and this has happened. I have letter after letter where people took the pieces. Now, there's 6s involved in the pieces of the game, and they would take the pieces of the game, they would throw them in the incinerator or the fireplace, and screams would come out. Spiritual forces inhabiting those pieces, and children would drop out of life. But you know, studying
I have to say that whole interview, I'm not sure, is it a special or an interview?
That's like an hour and a half long VHS tape.
It is absolutely bananas from toe to tip. It is totally bonkers, the stuff that they say.
Lest you think we're taking any of this out of context, actually, probably we're not making the
This is about the right context.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
So, all of that, if you played D&D in the 80s, you know, it did have an effect on the game to a degree. They started kind of whitewashing some of that racier material from the 70s. We talked about, you don't call them devils anymore, now they're Batazu. You don't call them demons anymore, now they're Tanari. It's not hell, it's Bator. You know, so, results varied, but, like I said, they were aware that they were getting scrutinized, and obviously there were some people winning some arguments about that. It didn't last. By the time you get to the turn of the century, pretty much the whole mess had died down. And this, I really, really love this. So the 3rd edition 2000 Players Handbook featured this disclaimer, which is very, very easy to overlook, but it's basically new publisher Wizards of the Coast saying, please don't go crazy when you're playing our game.
Total CYA. Okay. The action of a Dungeons & Dragons game takes place in the imagination of the players. Like actors in a movie, players sometimes speak as if they were their characters, or as if their fellow players were their characters. These rules even adopt that casual approach, using you to refer to and mean your character. In reality, however, you are no more your character than you are the king when you're playing chess. Likewise, the world implied by these rules is imaginary.
I like to play the horse when I play chess.
I like to be that.
The top hat?
Yes. Is that not?
If you do the little Scotty dog, at least it's kind of sharp.
That's why I need the thimble to protect myself. Okay. So this warning, the player's handbook 3 years later, and this warning disappeared. And I really, really love this. It's like, it's the last artifact. 20 years earlier, some weird shit went down, and this is the last echo of it. After this, it was just poof, dust in the wind. So fascinating. I still have this particular player's handbook. It is on our altar at home. Don't think too hard about that. So, that was weird, right? And I think we can all agree that it was pretty much over nothing. Pretty much. The thing of it is, while compiling material for this presentation, we came upon a few game materials that were, I mean, they weren't a satanic conspiracy or anything, but like, they were kind of playing with fire if we're going to be honest with ourselves. I'll show
fire.
Yeah. I'll show you what I mean. Tabitha, you want to take this one?
Of course. This is from a D&D Monster Manual by Gary Gygax in 1977. No devil is able to enter the other planes unless the proper ritual is performed, a gate is opened, or the proper name of the devil is spoken and heard. Devils will serve if properly commanded, but it is risky business, which makes me think that the devil's sliding out in the hallway in his underwear. It also typically requires a contract for the soul of the creature commanding the infernal power. Each type of devil has a special combination of inscriptions which bind them for 9 days. Human sacrifice is required of evil creatures using such a talisman.
What if I want to do a halfling sacrifice instead? Is that 22?
You gotta take that up with Gary Gygax, man. Merely looking at these talismans is dangerous if not properly protected. Study of a charm gives a 10% chance of summoning the devil.
Again.
Wait, like a devil, not the devil.
Again, yeah, you're just searching this necromancer's chamber. You find a weird medallion on the wall, and now you got a 10% chance to summon the devil. Why? Because Gary says, "Fuck you, this is his game." That's why. So like, okay, in context, this is fine. This is harmless. But like, if you're a Stranger Things kid in 1980, you don't want your mom reading this particular paragraph describing how to sell your soul and make a ritual human sacrifice to have a 10% chance of summoning the devil. Specifically, you don't want her reading this part. So, you know, there is that. Also...
Hey, there he is.
Also...
Man himself.
In 1979, there was one Dragon magazine writer who decided, you know what, our game is really missing? Satan. So let's write him in. Let's actually make rules for Satan specifically in AD&D, which then they did.
Okay, so reading from The Politics of Hell by Alexander von Thorn in Dragon Magazine, 1979. The following cannot be considered the official doctrine of either Advanced Dungeons & Dragons or the Roman Catholic Church. However, it is compatible with AD&D, and except for the parts about Asmodeus, it is not in conflict with works on demonology as generally accepted by the Catholic exorcists.
Losing my mind.
Thus enjoying tacit approval by the Church. The rise of Asmodeus is not documented in any major text on demonology, but very little original work on the subject has been done since the Middle Ages. I wonder why. Perhaps Mr. Gygax has more accurate sources. Like, does he think he interviewed Asmodeus?
I don't know.
Maybe he knows Catholic exorcists?
The vibe is weird. He's just like, I'm not saying this is how hell really works, but I'm not saying that either. I want to point out, by the way, I did not know about this article. I found it out when Sadie Satanas brought this up once.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't want to say I didn't believe her, because like, she knows her stuff. But like, disbelief was my reaction until I saw it for myself. And this article actually includes, so here it is. In case you didn't know this was ever a thing, here is Satan's actual, official, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons stat block. Do you mind if I do the rating on this one, actually?
Please, you were born for it.
All right.
Yeah.
Satan! By the way, this magazine also included stats for Astaroth and Belial, but we don't have time. Belial, I never get that right. Anyway, Satan, number appearing, 1. Frequency, very rare, I would hope. Move speed, whatever is necessary. Hit points, 333.
Gotta go fast.
Yes.
Sorry.
Armor class -8, damage per, that was good back then, don't ask. Damage per attack 10 to 100, magic resistance 95%, intelligence godlike. Satan can appear in any form he wishes. He can move as fast as he wants, teleport, cross dimensions, or even travel through time. In order to strike Satan with a weapon, the attacker would need a +3 weapon, a clear conscience, and the purest motives.
Oh, what kind of pure motives do you have if you're attacking somebody with a knife?
My motives are to fuck up Satan, so I don't know.
Very pure.
Anyone who dares attack Satan psionically will automatically fall into his control forever. You know what? Scions were OP as fuck, so that's...
Forever.
Satan may use any spell or psionic discipline as often as he likes. He casts spells as a 30th level caster, except for druid spells, which he casts at a 14th level. Satan really phoned it in for his druid lessons, I guess. Satan also has the ability to cause a number of unfortunate events to happen, such as the death of friends and family, the ruin of business, career, property, social status is my favorite. Satan's gonna mean girls your ass. Reputation and health.
On Wednesdays we wear red.
You can grant anyone a wish. All you have to do is sign a contract using blood. These wishes are much more powerful than ordinary wishes. No paltry normal wishes for us here at the Satan table.
No, only the most powerful of wishes.
Yeah, instead of wishing for more wishes, you wish for more powerful wishes.
Yes. Okay, so I know what you're thinking about the hit points, right?
Right, yes.
Everyone's thinking the same thing?
Half of what we would expect it to be.
Right.
I have a hypothesis. I was not able to reach Alexander Van Thorn to ask about this. He might not be real or alive anymore. But here's the thing. So by this point, they had published deities and demigods. So you've got characters like Odin and Quetzalcoatl and Cthulhu who have like 400 or 500 hit points. If Satan was that much tougher than all of them, it would be weird. It would throw the whole bell curve off. So maybe they vetoed the 666 hit points and decided, well, this is the next best thing that people will at least make the association here. That's my guess. I don't know for sure, but it makes sense, right? Also, okay, this one is rough.
Say it out loud.
Soj Camp.
Okay.
Lost Caverns of Soj Camp.
Okay.
This is a AD&D module, another Gary one, 1982. This is famous for introducing Baphomet into Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Woo.
And it also
Friend of the
involves... Yes. And it involves some spells that will allow your characters to summon and bind devils. And so that's one thing, but like, I gasped out loud when I turned to this page. What the fuck?
Is this loud?
I mean, you're looking at it. So like, okay, this alchemical circle here, I don't think these are real alchemical symbols, although I'm not the guy to ask. The pentagram is real, although, you know, it's just a star. That much magic triangle, that's a real thing. It's not the Necronomicon or anything, but like no other spell in D&D requires this much detail. And also, like, they knew the heat was on. This feels like self-harm, honestly. Also, if you skip ahead to Arcana Unearthed in 1985, it specifically mentions you should use this pentagram and this thou marches to a triangle for a torment spell, which maybe that's just as bad as it sounds. I don't know, I haven't tried it.
That sounds pretty bad.
I like the idea that someone was like, oh, cool, and like drew one of these sigils like into their game board, and then they got a little tiny devil.
Yes. Tiny miniature size Satan like in the game.
So cute.
The other thing Lost Caverns of Soj Camp is remembered for is introducing the beaver to the game. So, like, you know, those are basically equally notable contributions.
Ooh,
Here's
jazz
Here's the binding spell, as mentioned. Now, you don't have to bind just the devil with this, use any number of things, but still, like I said, this feels like playing with fire at this point. I feel like this feels expressly antagonistic. And not that I disapprove of that, but like, I don't know. There was probably a long meeting about this at the very least. And finally, there is also that 1980 D&D module that was set entirely in Hell and adapted Dante's Inferno. And granted, that's a classic of the humanities, but at the same time, a D&D adventure entirely in Hell is probably not the tone they wanted to set for the 80s in hindsight. So there is that.
The covers are so cool, though.
I would totally get a print of the pink one.
Yeah, and I want the other one. So, huzzah!
And the really weird thing about this stuff, which, like I said, it's kind of approaching a line. None of this stuff was ever included in like those anti-D&D scare materials. Though they didn't find the actual pentagrams. In fact, they don't even really seem to have understood how to play the game at all, as you saw from the previous presentation.
There are sixes involved.
Yes, exactly.
In the game.
You have to dig pretty hard to find this stuff, but once you do, it's there. So, 1 out of every 2,000 concerned parents might have been concerned over this as opposed to literally nothing at all. So, what did we learn today? Tabitha, any big takeaways?
I actually found it really interesting that there was some of these kernels in D&D and that people didn't find them. Like that really, I mean, obviously you did some research to dig these up, but like it's not as if they were impossible to find, and they didn't bother. They didn't care, it didn't matter, it was just, Satan's doing it.
Yeah, and for my part, the Satanic Panic was like vibes based.
Yeah.
It's not like they actually did the research to find these pieces of evidence that they could use against, the people that they're accusing of these terrible things. It's really just more like, this picture looks scary.
Yeah, how did they do this?
It was sort of the same vein, like, they're accusing, preschool teachers of the satanic ritual abuse as opposed to, the Church of Satan was a real thing at the time, and they didn't really catch as much heat as this poor grandma.
They were right there.
Now here's my big takeaway. I actually have Lost Cabin as a Soj camp, and it includes stats for Baphomet, and step-by-step instructions for summoning Baphomet, and also tells you, don't summon Baphomet, but you still can.
As if you were gonna listen, like, after getting the instructions.
Well, here's my point, Tabitha. If I decide that I want to run that in our Saturday game, what are you going to do when you get to the part where you can summon Baphomet?
Definitely summon Baphomet.
Okay.
Make sure you have snacks.
And have snacks and be like, hi, big fan.
Now, you do know, if you have to roll another character after that, it's not my fault. It's not even Baphomet's fault. So, like...
It's worth it.
Alright, fair enough.
I'm so ready for that.
Well, there you have it. There's a demonological history of Dungeons and Dragons. Thank you, everybody. Do we have any questions? We still got about 7 minutes? 9 minutes. 9 minutes left.
I guess there's. This is like a bit. It's not a comment. It's not a comment, but it does start as one. So I noticed, like, they mentioned homosexuality as like being this key element of like, oh, bad stuff that happens, right? And I mean, if reading old school models like that, especially, I just reminded, I did a history of Janelle Janeway's a couple of years ago for a thing that, like, the organization I'm involved in does stuff, and during interviews, like, much later in her life, she admits, like, openly, like, yeah, like, there were times when I was writing modules in the 80s where I was experimenting with, like, gender changing and stuff like that. Like, that was my way of kind of sneaking that in there. And so I'm just kind of curious, like, when you guys were doing research for this, did you discover any kind of, like, sort of hidden ways where it's like, oh, they totally did sneak a little bit of queerness in there. Like, they did it a little under the radar, it's totally in there.
I would love to tell you yes, but no, but now I'm going to. And so if we do this panel again, I'm going to try to make sure there's at least one gay slide in there. Of course, as we all learned from being here at MAGWest, there's absolutely nothing queer about gaming.
Absolutely.
I don't know what would give anybody that idea.
Yeah, so this is going to be a question that, of course, any of you can answer, but I do expect it to be a little more Daniel focused because it is a question about, the evolution throughout D&D editions, and you do clearly have the most long-standing experience as a player.
He never shuts up about it.
I was wondering if you had anything to say about the evolution of how demons and devils are depicted across various editions of D&D. For example, if I remember correctly, the modern distinction of that basically boils down to, in D&D, the rule is the ones that are just kind of like chaos goblins are the demons, the law and contract ones who will try to trick you are the devils. It didn't necessarily start that way. Of course, there was that the aside when suddenly the demons and devils were just extra planar creatures. There was, of course, obviously that aside. But I was wondering if you had a more detailed picture of that evolution, and then just kind of as a fun thing, what's your favorite edition of D&D you've played?
Well, I can answer the last thing. I like Pathfinder a lot. It is what I started with, but it made the most sense to me.
1 or 2?
Ooh, 1.
1.
I'm not answering for her. There were...
I didn't know there was more than 1.
I got nothing. I had a great time playing Call of Cthulhu with my friends. Did not do any reading, so there you go.
When it comes to like how devils and demons change throughout the game, the thing that I found the most interesting, we kind of glossed over it here for a second, is, in the 80s when the heat was on, as I like to say, and they decided it's like, we're going to make these more like Lovecraftian aliens than, conventional demons. And that is when they introduced this idea of the blood war, that demons and devils are always fighting with each other instead of with the forces of good. That's become a big part of D&D's overall plot for a while. And as this one writer suggested, the entire point of it was just like, we need something for them to do other than like collect mortal souls and like, the shit that they were normally doing for all the... And that's when that distinction between law and chaos, although it was there definitely earlier, became more distinct. That's when you start to add the, the Eugoliths, as the in-between party there, and you start to also fold in some more of the evil outsiders into that conflict as well. And so, I'll be honest, as a DM, I don't use a lot of demons and devils, it's not my favorite kind of monsters, but learning more about it has made me...
A little weird.
A little bit, yeah. Has made me more amenable to it. Favorite? Kind of already said Pathfinder, that'll probably be my answer. I'll be honest with you, in terms of a DM, I'm terrible with the rules anyway. I'm always getting them mixed up. I'm always remembering a previous edition's rules. I don't really care that much what the rules are as long as everybody at the table is fine with it. And so, I don't know. I never really played...
Pathfinder.
Yeah. The more time I spend on some of these materials, the more fond I am of them. I've never played this version of the game, and I'm not sure I can wrap my brain around it, but it's definitely something else. There's a vibe there that just, is one of a kind. Anything else?
What do we got? Five.
Five. Any other questions?
Oh.
Yeah.
Just because I grew up in this time period, I'm curious how they got away with producing the Saturday morning cartoons so easily while this was front and center.
That's a really good question.
There was a dude here last year who did an entire panel about that show.
I was here for that.
Yeah.
Okay, then you probably be the guy to ask. I do notice that on that show, the characters are transported to another world via the weird MacGuffin of a Dungeons & Dragons themed roller coaster instead of the more obvious MacGuffin of a Dungeons & Dragons themed book, presumably because they wanted something non-reproducible. Like, they didn't want to give the impression that, like a kid opening up the Dungeon Master's Guide and being transported to, Tiamat's lair was not the look they wanted at the time.
The Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk took a hit, I guess.
It's so funny too, just because wow, that is a really good question. Like how is that okay when people were losing their minds?
I feel like stuff that was more blatant was kind of glossed over. Like if you're looking for secret cabals of Satanists, you can't go for the obvious one. You have to find them.
I do remember that show was in the works for several years.
I collected the toys too back then.
Yeah.
If I remember some of the story correctly, Gygax was trying to... It was his effort to take attention away from all the devil worship and everything. There was one very clear bad guy. Venger was the bad guy.
Mm.
And I think it was also at a time when they were trying to push him out of Wisconsin. They wanted him away from corporate headquarters, and so they sent him to
Go do the
Hollywood.
Yeah.
Go do the thing and make
Right.
the stuff happen.
That's good.
It was kind of their distraction in a way.
That does make sense. There was a question back here?
Oh, can we grab a chick track now, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
I also have stickers, but you have to promise me that if I give you stickers, you're not going to stick them around the convention hall because
We get in trouble.
we will get in trouble because they say Satanic Bay Area on them, and
We're easy to find.
yeah,
Those could be anybody's Satanism stickers.
that's true.
And
Yes,
just
I will
to,
give you stickers, please.
and just to, we are a podcast. We do mostly focus on Satanism, its intersections with pop culture, politics, what's going on in the world right now. But we do have an episode on this topic. Daniel, what number is that?
Number 119, and also I think episode 7, although those early episodes were kind of a work in progress, maybe we don't go back that far on the archive. Also, we are planning a Mazes and Monsters episode coming up, but one of us, by which I mean presumably me, has to read the book first. So somebody's going to take a hit on that one.
Not it.
But this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yes, thank you for coming. Yay!
Hail Satan.
Yes, I'll say